Here we go. I'm so excited. We are back. My podcast is back. This, unbelievably, is season 7 of the Foyne Jones Show. We've been on an emotional journey, and this season we're going to be talking about people's journeys. We're going to be celebrating stories of resilience, examples of resilience from inside and outside of the KBB industry and beyond. Back in the studio, we got producer Charlie. Hula, how you doing?
Mate, I am over the moon to be back in the studio with you.
It's been far too long.
It's been too long, mate.
Like everyone, if you haven't met him, you need a bit of Hula in your life. So, you know, whether you watch his gigs when he's playing, whether you get him to do some videography, if you're lucky enough like me to have him producing and editing your podcast, the man is a superstar and he's with us throughout season 7. But our podcast is nothing without our wonderful guests. And today, we've got someone, you, Lucy, who has travelled overland, nearly overseas, but you've come from the furthest point in the UK if we're heading west, without a doubt. You live very close to Butlins, but you're now in the studio. Lucy Corlett-Shaw, it's a pleasure to have you as part of the Foyne Jones Show. How do you feel being a guest on episode 1 of season 7? You're going to set that bar high.
Well, I hope so. Thanks for inviting me, Peter. It's really good to be here. It's been a decent run over this morning. I think I did it in just under 4 hours, so not too bad.
But the highlight of our, I like to call it a pre-show meeting, but really it's a coffee and banter, what we were having. But the highlight of the coffee we shared before we come up to the studio with Charlie was when you said to me, and I'm sure you won't mind me sharing it, I don't mind the early drive because I swerved the school run.
Yeah, for sure.
How good's that?
My husband wasn't very happy last night when I said, I'm going off early, so he's going to have to do it. But no, saves the stress in the morning, doesn't it? It
really does. And in this episode, we're going to get to know you inside of work. So you're going to talk about what you're doing at the moment. But the most fascinating part of the story for me is just to share the journey you've been on, because it's interesting. It's very relevant if we look at what day we'll be celebrating tomorrow. So it's very relevant there from a military perspective, but also the transitions you've made, bringing them to life, how you felt, how you dealt with it, what was good, what was bad. We're going to do that, and we're going to get to know you. We're also going to be giving some advice for people at the very beginning of their career. It's a theme we took last season with Stars of the Future, and the listeners like that. So we're going to give some career advice as well. And we've got a few closing messages, which I think are quite poignant and relevant to the show. So you happy to get started, Lucy?
Yes, of course. Go for it.
Hula, we all good? Charlie's the man. At some point, Charlie, we will talk about Fulham's mid-table obscurity in the Premier League and Arsenal's failure to win the title, which could be put down to the 4 points Fulham nicked off you.
Could be put down to the 115 charges against Man City, but
yeah,
we'll get into it.
always. Sorry, Lucy, we get. You've listened to a few episodes. A bit of football creeps in every now and then, but let's get to know you, Lucy. So tell us about your current role and what you're doing right now.
So currently I'm the country manager for a Norwegian company called Rarosetta, selling premium extraction into predominantly the kitchen retail channel in the UK. It's a relatively new brand to the UK market, but things are going well, and the brand is starting to really grow and have an impact here.
Yeah, and you are, we spoke about it, but you are based in West Somerset. What part of the world are you from? I mean, I know it as Butlins, but it's more pretty than that if you go out and around, isn't it? It's a beautiful part of the world. Yeah,
so I'm based in West Somerset. I live in a little town called Watchet, little marina, not far from Butlins. Everyone says Minehead, Butlins, and I went to school in Minehead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I know Watchet very well.
Really?
I know an amazing pub there called Pebbles. Yes! Up the Pebbles! I was there not so long ago to see a fashion show at the new art centre.
Yeah, that's very similar to this building.
Yeah, very similar to this building. And for a night at Pebbles with my aunt and uncle who live nearby, near Bridgewater. So I love that part of the world very much, and Watchet's great. Great fun.
My friend's bar, Dean.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'll just get me coat. Yeah?
Oh, crikey, it's funny. I can't go anywhere.
There you go.
meeting someone
I mean, everyone knows Lucy within the KBB industry, Charlie.
yeah.
She's more well known than me, right? And that's putting it out there. She's speaking at the Installer show coming up in a couple of weeks, and you've been in the KBB industry for a long time, but diving deeper into you as a person, that journey began in a completely different environment for you, didn't it? Can we talk about that? Because I think it's really relevant to what this season's all about. So talk us through your career. Come on.
Okay, so in short, I always say it's basically from service to strategy. So I started off in the...
note that, Charlie.
I started off in the army. I joined when I was 17 years old, dropped out of college, did a year at college and joined the Royal Signals. And it was kind of like in where I live in West Somerset. The career path is quite limited, especially to children from my kind of background. It was either I was looking at a career in care working, and there I care for people. I'm not really up for cleaning and or working in a holiday resort, all the forces, and we have a lot of forces families around by us. And I enjoyed travelling. I wasn't really an academic, so I thought, the army's a good option for me, and I get to travel and get out of West Somerset, which is a struggle for some people.
Fair play to you.
Fair
play to you. So from service to strategy, Royal Signals, what was that like? When that becomes a reality. So people know my son's with a parachute regiment.
Yeah.
He's proudly serving with 2 Para, and I remember that time when he'd done his pre-selection, and we drove up to Catterick in North Yorkshire, Catterick Garrison, and we dropped him off. Do you know what I mean? And my wife won't mind me saying that. She said she cried so much her heart hurt, on that when we said goodbye. So, but you went through that from the other side. So what was that like for you, leaving home and joining the Signals?
Yeah, I think at that age, it was excitement, pure excitement, just going into the unknown, and I really enjoy that, not knowing what's going to come. I mean, I'd been in the cadets and stuff, but I don't know what to even say. It was. I knew it was going to be challenging, but yet exciting as well. And I knew, I was going to be in a group with like-minded people, all kind of a similar age, from a similar background, from all over UK, coming together, thrown together, a bit like Love Island for 10 weeks, and but not relaxing, around a swimming pool, running up and down hills with Bergens on our back. And it was really challenging, but, at the same time, it was great fun, and it was great because we were all in it together.
And you said about, getting out of West Somerset and seeing the world. So how much of the world did you see in your career?
Oh, crikey. So I've been everywhere, from Canada to Iraq. I was very fortunate to go to Antarctica as well.
Wow.
I applied for a position.
Charlie, you been there? Do you know any pubs there, fashion shows?
No.
Okay.
Nothing yet. Still on my list.
Yeah,
When I get there, I'll let you know.
It's good. I recommend it. That was with the British Antarctic Survey team back 10 years ago. They used to take 3 members of the forces down there, and I just applied for it and got picked. I got selected. So, I spent the best part of 6 months down there, which was really quite interesting because it was before mobile phones and before we had this super fast internet. So all my friends was just saying, "Oh yeah, Lucy's off to prison for 6 months. She's not going to be able to call or phone or email." But no, that was an amazing experience. So I've been all over the Falkland Islands, Bosnia.
My son was in the Falklands last year. He spent his 21st birthday staging mock defence or mock invasions.
Yeah.
That's how he celebrated his 21st in an island off the Falkland Islands. So.
Yeah, it's a good place down there. It's a bit like West Somerset, but without the hills and trees. And nowadays, there's no mines there. When I was there a few years ago, makes me sound really old. I suppose I'm getting old. When I was there a few years ago, there was minefields everywhere. In fact, the scars I've got on my face, they're not wrinkles. That's from RTC in the Falkland Islands near Mount Kent.
Really?
Yeah, we were only nipping out to get some beers from Stanley, and I ended up getting airlifted to hospital. But it's all the experiences, isn't it?
So great memories.
Yeah, great memories.
Great memories.
I think after I did do 10 years, so for the first 2/3 of it, I really enjoyed it, and then for the last third, I was starting to get a bit tired and I wasn't feeling like I was being challenged. The Armed Forces is great. You know, it's a great staging post, I think. And at 17, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So it seemed pretty pointless going to university, borrowing money to put myself through it, to then maybe come out with a degree in something I wasn't interested in pursuing. So, yeah, towards the back end of my career, I knew I needed to do something more and take more charge of my destiny rather than being told which way to go.
Fantastic. And that transition, you know, that's going to bring me on to the theme of the podcast, resilience.
Yeah.
Because transitioning from any of the armed forces into Civvy Street, as it would be seen, what was that like, genuinely? Because, I mean, I can imagine it's part exciting, part terrifying, part I don't really know what to do or how to do it. How did you find that transition?
To be fair, I wasn't the most militant of soldiers anyway.
Okay.
And I always maintained my base. You know, when you're in the forces, your family home is a base. And I was lucky enough to, in that 10 years, still have that foundation there and still be very close to my friends and school. So my parents hadn't moved away. And every time I'd go away on a tour or training, I'd come back and things hadn't really changed. So for me, it wasn't such an issue. And after 10 years, I don't think I was institutionalised that much. But I see it with some other friends of mine who maybe, you know, joined at the same time and then left around a similar time. I've really seen some of them struggle. And I think, you know, I know the topic is resilience, and I think resilience is great. It's a good skill that you can pick up in the armed forces, but people pick up these things differently. It's about being able to bounce back. But when you're in part of such a big and a close-knit team, some people would then struggle with not having that team around to be able to bounce back. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were times when I left the forces, just after I'd left, and I thought, I could really do with my mates here, or, you know, all my friends have got children, no one wants to go out for a Friday beer, and, you know, I'm going to have to sit in and watch crappy TV or something. And yeah, it can be quite lonely, but then, you know, it's about maintaining that network of friends as well when you do leave. I think, like I had a friend of mine's husband contact me a couple of years ago, and I've been out the forces now for, crikey, I left in 2005. So yeah, 20 years next year. And he contacted me and said, you know, his wife, she's ex-forces. She was, I was very close to her own training, and at my first posting, he said she's having a bit of a bad time. She's a bit depressed. Can you come and, you know, can you get in contact with her, basically? Well, I drove up the next day to see her. And that's kind of what people do in a forces family. Even though you leave, you never actually leave. But yeah, I have seen people who have really struggled on that transition. Yeah. And I think it's some people get thrown into the deep end, or maybe they don't, when they do leave, they don't really leave with their eyes open, because you can get annoyed with the army and then you think, do you know what, I'll just leave. And then, especially in more recent years, to go then say, sorry, army, I've changed my mind, I don't want to leave. And they just say, no, sorry, you've signed off, you're out. It can be quite challenging, I think, for most people.
But an experience that you're going to stays with you forever, I would imagine. Yeah, for sure. I think it's even on my LinkedIn profile, I put veteran on there now. You have, and it stands out. And you know, I always remember when I was doing a lot of fundraising towards the end of last year for the Parachute Regiment charity, Support Our Paras.
I sponsored you.
I know, that's what I was going to bring up. And I cheekily asked, and you said, well, you know, I've got a bit of a problem with this, Peter, because that's particularly just for the Parachute Regiment, and I support all the Armed Forces charity, but okay, I'll sponsor you. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, there you go. But there is that feeling of warmth to anyone that's served, and I do think that and again, this is a bigger conversation than me, and we're going into an election, but I believe there should be more responsibility and more support for anyone transitioning, and there should be more recognition for people that have served, whether they've been in theatres of war, whether they've done, you know, whatever period of time it is, you know, they're doing something very special that protects us all, and I think that's important. But I love the strapline from service to strategy. So we spoke about the service, we spoke about Antarctica, we spoke about the head wound. Yeah, and I didn't see that coming at all. I'll be honest, Charlie, I thought it was a wrinkle.
That's what everyone does.
Yeah, how dare I say that? But look, you survived that. You're in the podcast studio. Let's talk about the career as it played out from that moment, Lucy?
So when I left the forces, you get given some money to retrain to help you adapt and fit into more, the civilian life. So after about a year, I worked in a similar role to what I was doing in the forces. So with a lot of ex-military working there on the astute submarine project, doing communications on there.
I mean, the way you said that, right? Astute submarine projects, like me and Charlie know what you're talking about. I've got a friend who grew up in my flats in Fulham who's a nuclear submarine, and that's about the nearest I can get to it.
Well, so Astute was the newest range.
Okay.
And I was basically integrating the communication systems on there. So I kind of left the armed forces and kind of went into a role that was very similar, from a very similar background.
So in lots of business talk, that could be seen as like a soft landing. Yeah.
Very much so. And then it was really just finding my feet whilst I was out. I was contracting. It wasn't a permanent position. And then I had a thought about what I wanted to do. And I did my apprenticeship in the army in engineering. And I don't feel like I was a very strong engineer.
Okay.
I was a pretty poor engineer. I'm better at talking to people. And I feel so anyway. And so I wanted to do a qualification that was kind of broadly, it could help me go off anywhere, really. So I looked into it and I used the funding that I was given by the armed forces to do an MBA. Well
done you.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was challenging, but good. And at the same time, I'd moved up to Yorkshire and just accepted a role at Howdens.
And here we are in the KBB industry. So
that was my first foot in the door to my second career. So I always say, the armed forces was my first career, and then kitchens was my second career. But I've been in kitchens now longer than I was in the armed forces. So that's how I.
Any head wounds from your time in kitchens?
No, I don't think so.
No?
Not yet.
Okay.
Give it time.
No, that's all right. So arriving in Howdens, that's putting you into a large organisation, big responsibility. You must have loved every second of that.
Yeah, it was good. It was like my first real exposure to the corporate world. It was extremely fast paced. It was completely different. Whereas in the army, you're all in it together. It wasn't like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a fantastic learning field. For someone coming into the industry, starting off at head office at Howdens, I mean, I was very thankful that I got that position there, not coming from a kitchen background, going straight in as a buyer, straight from university. It was.
But that message there is something I try and shout from the rooftops every day. Give someone a chance.
Yeah.
Just because they haven't got exactly the experience or skills you believe they need, look beyond that. Find someone who's got qualities and give them a chance, and that's something which I really do feel for the modern job seeker, and that's where having strategies that help you, be more resilient, be more resourceful, be more creative when you're applying for positions. That's something I'm really passionate about, because people are perhaps not getting a chance because they're not applying for something because they don't think they're going to get it. I'm not ready. I'm too young. I'm not there. Jesus, I'd still be working in the yard or on the counter probably if I never put my hand up and said I want to have a go at that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think there's a lot of just having the confidence to make mistakes. So I make so many mistakes. I talk about it all the time. I make more than anyone, and I just keep saying sorry or keep trying again. And apparently that's okay. You could be an entrepreneur if you listen to Stephen Bartlett by making mistakes. It's all good. So that's probably why I've got away with it for all these years, Charlie. But I going back to that role, you're doing procurement, strategy, category, head office, big brand, different pressure. That was a good game for you. You enjoyed that, didn't you?
I really loved it. I mean, like I say, it was, again, jumping into the unknown. I didn't think I was going to get the role, to be completely honest with you. They had a tough recruitment session where you have to do all these tests and like team games and stuff. And then as the day went on, the group got smaller and smaller. And then at the end of the day, we had to do a presentation on something that wasn't work related. which was really hard for me because at the time I was just finishing off my MBA. I was working as a retained firefighter, so my life was all about.
Oh, hello. I mean, the retained firefighting activity's been left out of the career history so far.
Yeah, well, I only did it for a couple of years because I had since my car accident in the Falklands, I have issues with my back. So yeah, I did that for a couple of years. That was amazing. But yeah, just going back to the Howdens thing, everything I was doing was work related. I didn't have any children. I didn't have a long-term partner. So I was just trying to think of, right, what's topical? What can I make that's quite fun for this presentation? And X Factor was on. So I thought I would do like a 5-minute X Factor update, which I did my presentation last at the Howdens Recruiting Day. And everyone was doing all these super serious, like, Japanese cars, or this woman spoke about weight loss and a gastric brand. And I thought, oh, good God, here we go. I don't know if I want to get up and do this now. But I'd learned at uni as well about making handouts and making it so people, you're not just presenting to people, they've got something to look at. I put some music over the presentation. Yeah, and when the theme tune came on at the start of the presentation, I just looked and smiled thinking, oh, good God, I'm never going to get this job. But I was successful off that. And I think that what they were really looking for, what, like you said, is just to take a chance on someone. And I think they could see my probably confidence. Maybe I came across maybe it's because I was a little bit naive about what I was walking into, but just the passion. I think they could see that, and that's something that I learnt, and it's part of resilience as well from the armed forces. Even if you're not confident, always show that you're confident, or always just try and be confident, because what's the worst that can happen? You get knocked back, so what? Get up. So
that's ingrained in you, isn't it? So that element there is something that's going to stay with you all the way through. So let's fast forward. So you enjoyed your time at Howdens, and we're just going back to your current role, because you showed some real resilience here.
Yeah.
It's like it's what they would call a career pivot, because you went from one side of this table to the other side of the table. And you said to me downstairs something, again, which just made me smile. You said, when I was buying, Peter, I would never been so popular. Everyone wanted a bit of me. They wanted my time. They wanted my presence. They wanted my conversation. They wanted me to buy their stuff, Then all of a sudden, tables are turned. You're on the other side of the desk, and you're, hi, hello, Mr. Buyer. Hello, Head of Procurement. Hello, Head of Supply Chain. How did you find that?
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's good fun. So again, I wanted to do a jump. Buying's great. Like I said, everyone loves you. Come over to Germany, Lucy. Let's go and see our factories. Let's go sailing on our relaunches. Let's go to some Michelin star restaurants, to phoning up people saying, hi, I'm Lucy from Arisetto. Can I talk to you about cooker hoods? And they're like, oh, sorry, Lucy. Oh, what was your name? What company was it? Yeah, a bit busy. Can you call back tomorrow? Okay, no problems. Thank you. Anytime? Yeah, whatever. Okay, and then calling back tomorrow. So again, I approached that change. I mean, some people call it gamekeeper turned poacher, or poacher turned gamekeeper. I'm not sure which way around it is. But I knew it was going to be a challenge, because you can get too comfortable in doing what you're doing, and then you get complacent, and then it doesn't become fun. So chucking yourself in the deep end is fun. So it's again, I'm having to pick myself up because I get blown out daily,
I can't believe that, Lucy. I'm not accepting that.
I walk onto people's stands or at exhibitions. They're like, oh, good God, she's come to talk to me about flipping cooker hoods. And, it's not exactly the most fun topic, but it's a great product, and I'm very passionate about it. And I think as soon as you can get talking about it, you can kind of talk people around. It's just that initial trying to get in front of them.
I think one of the biggest things that shines through, from the minute you walk through the doors in reception to having a coffee to when Charlie came down, the one thing that shines through with you is there's just a radiant personality, and there's a belief in getting shit done.
Definitely.
And that I think it just transcends everything. So thank you for being part of episode 1.
Thank you.
It's been fantastic to talk about your story from service to strategy. After the break, we're going to come back and we are going to talk about talk about the 80-year anniversary of D-Day tomorrow, which is tomorrow when we're recording. So we are going to talk about that. We're going to give some advice to inspire the next generation, and we're going to wrap the podcast up just with a closing message and go from there. So you having fun?
Yeah, always having fun.
Always
Peter.
having fun. You can talk about the pub with Charlie. We'll be back after the break.
With over 35 years of global expertise in crafting, designing and delivering high-quality kitchen solutions, Carousel offers an unmatched variety of products including surfaces, sinks, taps and appliances designed to elevate and transform any culinary space.
Okay, welcome to the second half of the first episode of Season 7. As you heard from the advert, we've got a new sponsor, Carousel, and without them we can't put this show together. The first episode, it will go to air, I think, next week, but the day and time we're recording this is on the morning of the 5th of June in 2024. 80 years ago, something very, very poignant happened the next day. So I just want to share something with you. These were the words of our inspirational wartime leader, Winston Churchill, who probably is one of the most amazing users of British speech, or used power of the words, and showed more resilience than I think any of us ever would. But this is what he said on the day of D-Day, 6th of June. He said, "I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck." Those were all the words of Winston Churchill ahead of the D-Day landings. That invasion turned the tide of World War II, probably the greatest act of resilience in the modern world. I think everyone listening to this podcast, everyone who sees the clips on LinkedIn can share this with me, that we should make sure we never forget the sacrifices made in what I believe should always be remembered as our greatest ever generation. And that's how I wanted to start the second half of the show. So that was an example of resilience of 80 years gone by, and something I think should never be forgotten. Bringing it to the here and now, Lucy. We spoke about your career.
Yep.
And we've spoken about times, where you've had to go for that job or try something different, get knocked down, go again, be blanks, go again. If you was looking back at the corporate you, or the you that wants to build a career in the wonderful world of KBB, which is what this podcast is all about, what advice would you give to yourself looking back, or would you give to others?
I think the advice I would give to myself is just, it's kind of my mantra as well, is just go for it. Just absolutely go for it. Explore every single opportunity. Nothing gets handed to you. You've got to go out and search it. And even if it doesn't look that attractive, explore it, look into it, because you never know what's going to come from it. And I think, a lot of younger people today, they're maybe a bit scared and apprehensive of taking big jumps. Things are different. I don't know how to say it. Everyone's a bit softer these days. Whereas...
You put that politely, softer, so I like that. That's good.
Well, it's like my son has just turned 6. He just went on Beather camp, and I spoke to all the other parents and said, "Oh, were you sending, your children?" And they said, "Oh, God, no, they're too young." And they said, "Are you sending your child?" I was like, "Oh, God, yeah."
He's gone.
Yeah.
He's got the bus this morning on his own.
As soon as it opened up, I sent him. And it's about encouraging your children as well. Like when I looked at the forces, my parents encouraged me to do it. In fact, I think Dad was more than happy to get rid of me. Mum a bit less so. But yeah, they really did encourage me. Now I'm hearing of these days of families saying to their children, "Oh, please don't join the armed forces. Why don't you look at doing this? Or, go and get a job in Butlins for a couple of years, and, don't join the army and have a really good think about it." But I think it's... we should be encouraging our younger generation to look at that for options, especially, with apprenticeships. I didn't go to university until later on in life. My husband didn't go on to university until later in life. We both just did our MVQs and our apprenticeships when we were younger. And I think doing it in the forces is a really good option, because then you're getting paid, you're in with, other people, you learn these skills such as resilience, like we're talking about. And I think I think as a parent now myself, if my child wanted to, or both of my children, Nancy as well, if she said to me, "Mummy, I want to join the Navy."
How old's Nancy?
So Nancy is 4.
Nancy's 4, and your little boy's 6?
Ted's 6, yeah.
So we've got Nancy and Teddy?
Yeah.
Okay, say hello to them.
Hi, kids.
There you go. Mummy's on the telly. So we always do this. We get guests to say hello to their children. But I think for me, my boys are grown up, and the one thing I want more than anything else is for them both to be happy.
Of course.
And I want them to try stuff. I want them to have fun. I never want them to think that this is it.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. You've got to get up with a smile on your face. You've got to embrace the moment, and that comes across in everything from how you are, and it's in abundance. And I think that resilience is a mindset, and it's also being able to deal with things when they go wrong. Nothing goes perfectly. Everything changes. So that advice you're saying there is to try it, aren't you? You're saying give it a go. Yeah,
for sure. Like I said, a lot of people won't push their children. They won't encourage them. They'll encourage them just to settle. Oh, you're happy. You're just doing that. Just carry on doing what you're doing. No. Go out and live. Go out and do it. Go and try it. If you fail, you fail. Come back home. My house, my doors will always be open for my children. And yeah, just try it. If you don't try it, you'll never know how resilient you can actually be until you're in that situation. You don't know how you're going to react, and I think a lot of people will be surprised how resilient they actually are.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. And when you think about everything you've captured there in that. We do learn, and I talk about this a lot, we learn more about ourselves in the really, really challenging and dark times, which we don't enjoy.
Sure, yeah.
I went through a very difficult time at the start of this year with some real hard-hitting bereavements, which I couldn't really see a way out of it other than to take a break, to look after myself. And I had to do that. You want to be strong for others. You want to be the go-to person. But I needed to take some time to get my own head back on track. And actually, you do. If I look back at my career, it's the times when things have not gone well where I've grown as a person. And that's something which is coming through from what you're saying then. So thank you so much for being part of the show, Lucy.
No, thank you.
I think it's been brilliant. I've got something again which is about bravery. It's about resilience, and it's something which is it was Rob Burrow, the rugby league player, sadly lost his battle against motor neurone disease, which is a cruel disease, and he left a message, which I think is he left a message and he left a legacy, certainly with Kevin Sinfield and the fundraising. But his last message said, "I hope I've left a mark on the disease. I hope it shows to live in the moment. I hope you find inspiration from the whole story. My final message to you is whatever your personal battle, be brave and face it. Every single day is precious. Don't waste a moment.
Exactly.
In a world full of adversity, we must still dare to dream." Rob Burrow, over and out. And when you hear words like that from someone who has gone through what he's gone through, and we look at what's going on in the world and the things we get happy about, things we get sad about, things we get excited about, how you kind of manage and deal with those emotions. I think resilience is taking a breath and being able to go again and build yourself up. And for me, Lucy, you've been a brilliant guest. You've been an absolute brilliant guest. Told you she'd be good, Charlie, didn't I? I told you she'd be good. That, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, boys and girls, everyone who's watching, is the end of episode 1 of the Foyne Jones Show. It's brilliant to be back in the studio. It's brilliant to be talking to our industry once again. Lucy, you're going to be talking to the industry at the Installer Show, aren't you?
I sure am.
That's one not to be missed. What are you talking about? Come bring it to life. Come on, put yourself out there. Shop window.
Kitchen safety on the Thursday.
Kitchen safety on the Thursday. Get to the Installer Show. Check out Lucy. Lucy, you've been a brilliant guest. We're gonna push this episode across all of our social connections. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.